I'm Phil Savvas. I'm Uncle Charlie's nephew. So my mom Kitsa is Uncle Charlie's sister. So I grew up in a house where Uncle Charlie grew up in Hartford, and Uncle Charlie was there the first few days I was born. So I've known him my whole life. He's known me my whole life. Possibly the greatest man I've ever met. Taught me things. I can say a lot of things, right? I can say whatever on here?
Absolutely.
Okay, he taught me a lot of things. He taught me things my dad didn't teach me, because Uncle Charlie was around more. And I take a lot, I have a lot of stories, a lot of memories.
What's the biggest,
we were in Greece. I was a young boy. We were in Greece. Him and this guy named Chris were teaching me how to swim. I didn't know how to swim. We're from the city, so, Greece has beautiful water. So I was saying in Greece, where the water starts, it's a lot of stones. And Uncle Charlie would bring me out, and the stones would go, they'd start off, and if you go about 8 feet out, it starts dropping. But then when it gets to like that 8-10 foot mark into the ocean, it drops drastically. And Uncle Charlie was a great swimmer. So he was teaching me how to swim. But before we went to Greece that summer, at the airport, Uncle Charlie brought his spear gun in a big bag. It was a big sack bag. He had a spear gun in there. And man, I remember this story. And he had all this sea diving equipment, his mask. TSA opens it, and they're like, what the hell is this? Everybody comes over, and they're like, oh no. So I think he tried to carry it on. I don't know why Uncle Charlie did that, but everybody came over, started looking in the bag. And they're like, oh, he had to put it in a different bag. They tagged it. But he was like, what? He felt like there was nothing wrong with it, but these long spears. He finally got the bag on. We get to Greece. This is where he's teaching me how to swim. He goes into the ocean. I'm a young boy, so I'm fine with the ocean. I go into the ocean. He's about 30, 40 feet out. He catches a little baby shark, and I'm like, what is that? And he was like, a shark. And I was like, and I watched Jaws with him growing up, so I was like, what? So I'm scared now, like, holy shit, I'm in the water. I'm trying to get out. I get out. He's still in the water. About 20 minutes later, he comes out on a spear. There's an eel. I've never seen an eel, so I'm like, no way. So I'm scared as to go back into the water, man. So I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. I never seen this stuff. He comes back out, goes back into the ocean. Last time he comes out, he's like, hey, look. Like, he's so happy, too. Like, look how cool this is. There's an octopus stuck on his arm. And I'm like, holy shit, like, what? Like, oh, and he wanted to cook the eel. He was going to eat the eel. He said eel was good. So he took the eel out, put it in a bucket, went back in, ended up coming out with the octopus on his arm. I'm 44, and I'm still scared of the ocean now. Thank you, Uncle Charlie. He taught me how to swim. It was no good because I don't like to go in the ocean now. My wife and I got to spend a summer with him 2 years ago in Greece, and I'm glad it went that way because we stayed in his house with him. He had to stay with him, so we spent every day together, dinner, breakfast, the beach, conversations. Everybody out there loves you and they miss you. We talk about you all the time. I love you and miss you a lot. Avery says hi. Chris was right there. She misses you. Thank you, Uncle Charlie.
There was this one trip, I don't remember if it was the last one we went on or the one before that, but there were fires in Greece, which was not a good thing.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not a good thing. But we didn't have an air conditioning in the house, and it was so hot, and all of our beds were lofts, so it's hotter, like heat rises,
Yeah.
So we all slept on the floor.
Yeah.
With no blankets on the tile floor. Like,
to like cool down.
Him, me, Amy, Philip. Philip came back in at 1 a.m. because he was out, I think. Most of us were sleeping on the floor because it was really hot. Mm-hmm. And then Philip and Charlie were out doing their own thing, and they came back at 1 a.m. and they were like, guys, the water is bioluminescent. So we all got up and we all left and we went to the beach, and it was so dark in the ocean. It was really wavy.
Yeah.
It was a little scary because the ocean, when it's pitch black, is like, I don't know, it's more scary than you would think.
You got to travel to Greece, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many times did you go over there?
I've been there 3 times. The beach days were awesome. Charlie would always say it would be like the most picturesque place you could possibly be. We'd be chilling on the beach in the Mediterranean, drinking a beer or lemonade or whatever, and his favorite joke was like, this is horrible. This is the worst thing. And he'd be like, this is just you. I'm so sorry I brought you here. And it was always just to get the like, come on, this is the best. And you know it's the best. And then he'd be like, yeah, it's the best.
Right.
In Gennady, where he's from, his 2 close friends own a restaurant, and that's the only place I will get gyros in Rhodes is from there. And they're always amazing. And they always bring you a shot of suma. Do you know what suma is? It's like Everclear made from grape leaves, and it's like 110 proof or something crazy, and it's homemade. They call it, what do they call it? Magic. They're like, you have a stomach ache? Suma. You have a headache? Suma. It's magic. The calamari. I mean, he loved the calamari, and he taught me how to eat the fried anchovies with the heads on them and everything.
How's that? How do you do it?
I mean, like you would do anything, but he was just like, there's gonna be bones. There's gonna be little bones. He called them Greek potato chips.
Indian motorcycle parts started piling up in my bedroom. And one day I said, hey, why don't you go home tonight? And he said, what are you talking about? I live here now. I was like, oh, okay. We later moved up to the 3rd floor, and the Indian motorcycle was together at that point, and they actually hoisted it all the way up to the 3rd floor, and we kept it in the 3rd floor apartment. Charlie called me up on a Wednesday. He said, Beck, Connecticut's passing the helmet law. And I work with this guy, and he's been to this great place, Austin, Texas, and it's awesome, and they don't have the helmet law. We're moving there Sunday. So I said, well, I guess, all right. I called my mom, and she said, well, you've always wanted to travel. I always had a wanderlust. And here was the guy to take me places. But, so that was it. We came on a Sunday. It was August. Unbeknownst to my Connecticut family, I was also pregnant with our daughter, Rachel. And our wonderful, wonderful daughter. And I got out of the motel. First we had a cheap motel, and it was so hot. I said, I can't breathe here in Texas. I'm going home. I packed my things. I went back home to Connecticut on a Greyhound with my boxes. I got home and I realized, what the hell? That's the father of my child. I love him. Meanwhile, he talked me into, hey, Beth, we're staying in tents out of this lake, Lake Travis. It's beautiful. You're going to love it. Come back. Come back. Okay. I came back on the Greyhound with a few boxes of belongings, and we were staying in tents on the lake, pregnant, in the middle of summer.
Before I ever met Charlie, I heard of Charlie. It was one cold, wet winter night in the 1980s, and I was in bed 10 o'clock at night watching the evening news. All of a sudden, they were talking about a cave rescue in South Austin. A guy was trapped in a cave. I didn't know who this guy was. It was really nasty, sleety outside. I didn't really want to get out of bed and get called out in a rescue, so I was hoping I didn't get called out. Well, it turned out that this was Charley Savvas trapped in a cave on Barton Creek when a boulder had shifted and pinned his leg. He was in dire straits, but fortunately he was able to get out. They brought him a jack, and he was able to lift the rock off his own leg that had pinned him. He was in such dire straits that at one point he was asking for something to cut his own leg off. That's how bad it was. But he got out. Doctors told him that he might not have full use of his leg, but he recovered. Not long after that, I got to meet Charlie, and and we started caving together.
I want to tell two funny things. Is that once he put me through nursing school, he tried to get me to do procedures on him, which probably some of you in the room have done. And I want to know who it was. I'm going to hunt you down later. Well, the first thing was, he would come home from work from the transition shop and say, I think I have a piece of metal in my eye. Can you find it? Can you find it? I don't see anything. What are you talking about? I said, why did I send you to nursing school? I'm not a doctor, Charlie. Then, fast forward a few years later, we're already split up, but we're on good terms. And then he shatters his ankle at Enchanted Rock.
So there were some references tonight into when Charlie broke his leg and had it pinned together. So with me, Jody Horton, and Charlie, we were at Enchanted Rock, and I was on lead, and Jody Horton was belaying me, and I'd made it kind of over the crux and was topping out on the route, and I heard this snap, like as loud as you could. I mean, like somebody took an oak stick, a couple inches branch, and just cracked it over their leg. It was really loud. Turns out that was Charlie's leg. And so I get down, and he was just decided to do some bouldering while he was waiting for his turn on rope. And so me and Jody got to play crutches, one on the left, one on the right, and hobbled him out of there and laid him in the back of my truck and drove him out of there. And I can't remember. I guess I don't think we took him to the hospital. But anyway, yeah, he obviously had it pinned together, and the rest of that story was told inside when they took the metal pin out when it was time on Joe Ivy's kitchen floor with his leg up on the table.
A few months later, he goes, hey, Beth, can you do me a favor? I was supposed to get the screws out, but I'm not going to go pay a guy to take those screws out of my leg. Can you take them out? You! It was you! Oh! Okay, I never met the people that did that. I said, no, Charlie, I'm not taking the screw out. And I found out they did it later.
Becky mentioned the screw story. So I'm a nurse too, and at the time of that incident, I was an emergency room nurse. And of course, they tagged me. I'm like, I can't know anything about this, but if you're gonna insist on doing it, then this is what you need to do. And so Joe and Patrick are the two that decided, and I actually had found the picture, but you couldn't see it was Charlie, you could just see a leg. But I said, you need some lidocaine, you need a screw, and you need, it's probably gonna be a hex screw, just based, because I was an orthopedic, I'd done a lot of orthopedic stuff too. And so I remember Patrick and Joe, and I'd say, I don't want to be there, I don't want to know about it, but they call me like, they can't find the right screw head. He's coming, okay. First hand's better than second hand.
So we irrigate this thing with lidocaine. We probably should have waited longer. Because Joe cut across that screw and I heard, oops. So Joe goes, I thought this was going to be like a Phillips. And I said, well, what is it? And he goes, it's a hex drive. Star drive.
Star drive.
I said, do you have any of those in your toolbox? He said, yeah, I've got one of those little rubber ones. Has a bunch of different sizes. It had 30 weight all over it. So we scrubbed it, dipped it in betadine, and we got the screw out. And I called her and said, okay, the screw is out and it's really bleeding because it was in the bone. And she said, let it bleed. And I think I sent her a picture of the incision. And she goes, did you bring the stapler from the vet kit? And I said, yeah, I've got the stapler. So, and this all happened really, really quick. So,
And it happened on Joe Ivy's kitchen table.
so it happened so quick that when Joe put the staples in, it was all over again. But it turns out we did a good job because it didn't even leave a scar.
And it didn't get infected. Which
And it
was the
didn't
biggest
cost Charlie a dime. And that's the only reason he wanted us to do it.
was a hell of an inspiration for a aspirational rising caver. Peter led us down. Peter got a lead on this Sotno de la Culebra, which is like an 300 meter deep shaft in Querétaro, and it's just a vertical shaft, and no one had been down there, and Charlie was going to rig us down there, and I was going to support him, and we started off on, like, I'll say the north side of the pit, and it just didn't go well. The rock was crap. We got not very far down, and we had to abandon that. We went to the other side of the pit, and we started going down. The rock was great and solid and everything. We got down, like, I'm going to say 400 or 500 feet, and our hammer drill battery died. And I was supporting him, so it was my job to, get him everything he needed. Rope, drill bits, fresh batteries. And I was like, man, we should have brought that battery. And he's like, no, it's no problem, dude. I'll go back up and get it. I was like, the main guy is willing to just climb 500-700 feet and just to get a battery. I got this. I'll reluctantly, I'll go do this, and he introduced me to thread anchors that day. I'd never thought of a thread anchor. He built, there's a fin of rock and you drill a hole with a drill, put a sling through there, boom, you got an anchor. I had never done that, and he always had a trick for every situation. He could rig down everything. He could build an anchor out of just nothing, and it was very inspirational. Very, very skilled, very talented caver. He means a whole lot to me. He's with me every day.
Yeah.
I just did a trip where I built just tons of anchors. Every day we're building 8 or 10 or 12 anchors, something like that. Wonkety anchors, no 2-bolt clips. Everything is just naturals and creative and such. Bringing down focals, leaning back, turn around the corner, redirect off of here, go straight down here, rebelay forward, Great classic Charlie stuff. And he was with me every step of the way. He let me guide the cavers down through the vertical parts of the cave with the ropes, His skills were in me that time.
But my absolute favorite Charlie story, I think he was working at Bullis. He was on his way home. He was kind of late. And he showed up that night, and he was like, I almost got a speeding ticket. And I was like, yeah, so? And he goes, but I didn't. Let me tell you. So at Bullis, we found a rattlesnake, and I thought I would put it in my pack and bring it somewhere out here and let it go, And so I have the rattlesnake in my pack, in the footwell of the passenger seat, and I'm going a little fast. And then I noticed I'm getting pulled over for speeding. So I undid the knot of the rope on my pack real fast, and I shook the snake out. He goes, and then, to make it seem real, I drove a little weird. And then I pulled over, and I jumped out of the car. And he said, and that snake was so perfect. That cop walked up, and it just slithered over the edge of my car and away, and she went, ah! And jumped behind me. And he said, I'm so sorry, ma'am. If I was driving a little funny, there was a rattlesnake in my car. And she said, sir, understood. Have a good day. And he came home, and he was really happy, because that speeding ticket would have caused some trouble with some other speeding ticket. Anyway, that snake did him a real favor that day.
My favorite Charlie story.
Let's hear it.
We were out at Colorado Bend, and it had gotten cold all of a sudden. Sorry.
It's okay, man.
It had gotten cold all of a sudden, and so Charlie goes out, go take a poop out in the woods, and 10 minutes later, he comes trotting back in to the campsite where everybody's camping, and he's like, "Hey, look what I found!"
Snake.
He's got a 7-foot friggin' rattlesnake in his hand.
I remember this.
That had gotten caught out and was too cold to make it to its burrow, and so Charlie's holding the snake in his hands, and like there was enough warmth in his hands that the snake had become active again. So like Charlie feels this thing starting to wiggle around, so he chucks it.
We're in the Cook Islands, and the Cook Islands has many beautiful things, but the one thing they have is a $3 bill. And not only do they have a $3 bill, on the $3 bill, there's a bare-breasted woman riding a shark. And Charlie thought this was like, he saw this and you just saw his eyes sparkle. It's like the coolest thing in the entire world. And he's like, I gotta get some of these. I gotta get some of these. And so we get to And so like Charlie, that became his goal to get these. And like went to the bank and we got them. And he bought like 25 of these bills. And immediately he starts handing them to people. Like everyone. Like he wanted one, but more or less he wanted to share this joy that he had in his life. And I think we've all been there so many times. You're in a horrible lead. You're just like tight little crawlway, half filled with water. And Charlie's like, oh, this is good. This is really good. Like, this could break open. This could break open. Or it could go to a pit and we'll go down it. Oh, this could go for kilometers. And you're like, no, this is horrible. Like the last of the Cook Islands too, like Mike Futrell was there with Charlie. They're down this horrible drain. It's like a meter tall, half full of water, like mud sumped up. And Mike's like, I'm getting mud all over my book. And I hear Charlie below going, this is good. This is really good. And there's this eel that's swimming around Charlie. And he's like, there's an eel swimming around my crotch. What's going on here? What's like, oh, is it going to bite? No, it's really cool. And that's just the way he lived his life. He was so positive. And we went back to the Cook Islands and we're getting off our little charter plane. There's 10 of us, 11 of us coming off a plane. And as we step off, we're all looking behind us for Charlie to be there. Like every night we would go to dinner and sit down and like the table just felt empty. We kept looking for him to be there. And about halfway through the trip, Iona was like, hey, someone left their boots here from last year. And like she comes out and carries Charlie's boots out. And they're like, do you want to take these with us? And we're like, no, these need to stay here. These are a good place.
One thing I would say about Charlie is that he really had an ability to connect with people, and quite a few people in the caving community, Charlie became one of their favorite people. A lot of them ended up feeling like Charlie was their best friend and wanted to go be with Charlie and go on caving trips with Charlie and do Charlie things.
The late 90s and up into the early 2000s, where I was like caving was a fundamental like building block of my life. Yeah. And of course then enter Charley Savvas, who was present on every major adventure I've probably had in my youth, which to this day nothing can touch that, which is actually makes that life goals. Like I need to find a way to go back to that place where you have that kind of pure fun and just wonder and adventure. And I think one of my favorite stories is actually a day we were playing hooky from caving. We were down in San Luis Potosí. We were supposed to, there was a little crew of us, and we were supposed to be going back out for survey. And we were tired or just not feeling it. And like up until this point, I was never a reader. Like I didn't read books for fun. Like this has since changed in my life. So there was like this period before, and now there's this period after where I really enjoy reading. But on this day, I had some book with me, and we just started reading after breakfast. And I was just like, oh, end of chapter. Charlie's like, more, read more, read more. And I'm like, okay. And we kept reading, and then you have that guilty pleasure because you're like, oh, we're supposed to be caving and doing all of our stuff, and we're just reading. We read all day long. I was hoarse at the end of that day. But that was probably the first time I ever really loved reading. And I got to do that. Also playing hooky, and you know you're not in trouble when Charley Savvas is playing hooky too.
One of my memories, they're all just little short stories, but I think we were in John's Forerunner, going somewhere through Mexico City, and of course,
In those days, you always got pulled over in Mexico City. And I spoke pretty good Spanish at that point. And the cop pulls us over. And Charlie, this is back when Charlie was the biker dude. He was all hair, all black leather, rolls down the window. Cop says, "Dame su licencia." And Charlie's like, "Nice to meet you too." And eventually we drove away from that. We just played dumb for a while.
One of the first meetings I ever went to, when we used to have it at the UT itself. I don't think he was actually really went to many meetings, but he came over and I started talking with him because he had heard that I lived in Belize for a couple years, and we got to talking and found out we had a couple places in common that I'd been to that I'd never met anybody else that actually been to them. One was called the Los Cuevos Research Station. It was at the top of a mountain ridge called the Mountain Pine Ridge in Belize, and it was actually one of the first kind of caves that I'd ever been into. It was kind of before I even knew caving was a thing. And then I came back here and got invited to go to a grotto meeting from my friend Rich, and that's originally how I met Charlie. And then him and Lee J used to invite me to go dig with them, and I would just go dig, and he kind of helped get me definitely interested in caving more, and just a great person to have in my life and get to know.
There's one story I'll never forget. It's a stupid story, but it always makes me laugh. It's who I think of for some reason when I think of Charlie. We were working on a Wonderworld extension at San Marcos when they're building Wonderworld, and we were looking for the caves so they could figure out where they're going to route the road. And George had Charlie and I working together on this one sink that he and I were digging on. Ended up turning into a bedding plane cave. We went down like 7 feet, a little tunnel that popped into a bedding unit. So we were spending all day, like at lunch we'd all get back together and hang out and eat our lunch. Charlie was so excited because his mother had mailed him a care package. But one of the things he did have was very spicy Greek sausage. And he loved that stuff. So later on, where he and I are digging, just two of us are chatting, having a good time. You did not have fun when caving with Charlie. Conversations were always great. It's just always a fun time. So he's down in this cave. He's sitting at the bottom. His legs are in the bedding plane. His body's in the passage going to the surface. He's dragging material with a hoe up to there so he can pass it up to me. And this cave is sucking air. It's a big unit. It's just sucking so much air. Like I could feel the breeze kind of behind me on the surface going into the cave. And we're just talking and we're digging and handing stuff up, and then all of a sudden I just smelled this god-awful, horrendous smell. And I was like, oh my God, this smells like sausage. And it's sucking air. The air is blowing towards him, and that fart of his went past that air and hit my face. So, at that point he's telling me, I'm laughing and he's laughing, and he's telling me about, how good that sausage was. and I'm like, man, I can almost taste it. And then he just starts laughing, and then he goes, that's my microscopic poop particles in your mouth.
I discovered the grotto, and it was no accident that I was very quickly introduced to Charlie, this person that the way other cavers respected Charlie was like if we had a knight in our midst, a cool knight, like that dude over there's a knight. It was kind of how they talked about Charlie. Charlie and I became good friends because I had an old Land Cruiser. So Land Cruiser owners need to be good friends with mechanics. But this guy, no matter what, if you got him alone and had quiet time, like on a bus trip, and it's you and him and that little dim speedometer light, there's this incredible person. Things like being with him when he discovered Pseudoeuroptonus savvasi. Those of you who were fortunate, like me, to get to spend time with someone like Charley, who, with all of these experiences and incredible things he did, always looking forward to the next one, really was great for me at that low spot in my life where I discovered Charley and caving, and at other points in my life where, you know, there's frozen mud on the rope, and he knows you're having a hard time, and he doesn't have to say anything. Take it easy, dude. It's cool. Just take your time.
Charley. When I first started caving, it was around 2000, and Charley was probably one of the first people that I met, and he was just a delight, always a delight. And then I remember just being in awe of all the things he had, like you would see presentations at the meetings, and it was just like, wow, who are you? Like, how do you do all these things? I was just impressed, 100%. And I'd pull him aside at parties and be like, Charley, how do you get to, like, just like try to grill him on how to be like him. I wanted to be like Charley, basically. That was my goal. So one time we were caving in Mexico. We went on a caving trip, and it was very early on in my caving world, and so I was like 24. I was like 24. Let's say I was 24, Charley was 42. And essentially we get to the border, and my truck got to the border before his truck, but we're in line at the aduana, and we're waiting, and everybody in my truck already had their papers except for me. And so we were waiting for my particular visa. And then Charley gets to the border in his truck, and he comes and finds us, and we're all just chit-chatting, and he was like, oh, well, I gotta wait in line for my truck papers anyway. That's gonna take forever. Here, take my visa. It'll work. And I was like, Charley, it's not gonna work. He was like, it'll work. Just try it. It'll work. What's the worst that could happen? You'll just come back to the border, and then you'll have to stand in line with us again. And I was like, this is never gonna work. But I was like, but my friends in the truck that I was in, they were like, well, we might as well try it. Maybe it'll work. And so, so then I was very nervous. I proceeded to memorize everything on the visa for Charley. I was suddenly a 42-year-old man from Crete as a 24-year-old woman. And we did get pulled over at one of the checkpoints, and I had all the answers memorized, but he like asked me all the questions. I told my name was Charley. I was from a certain place, from Crete. And then like he got to the age, and he just looked at me and looked at the visa, and he just gave it back to me. And he was like, go along. Go along, ma'am. And that was the time that I crossed the border with Charley's visa.
My name is Amy Lobiondo. I met Charley about 8 years ago in March, and we were both on the dating site OkCupid. I thought his profile was pretty interesting, and he was pretty cute in his picture, so messaged him and we started talking. He was on his way to New Mexico to pick up a 4Runner. So we talked. I said, I used to live in New Mexico. So we had various things in common, like each having a daughter named Rachel and both being from the East Coast. So our first date was at Whole Foods and REI. I will never forget it, just sitting at the picnic table having a smoothie with him and listening to him and starting to hear the stories. So he was telling me about the Philippines, and it was just blowing my mind that I was sitting across from this man who was like, I've been to this country and I've been here. He was never bragging, but just sharing information. Mm-hmm. On our second date, he put me to the test. It was in the Greenbelt, and I think it was possibly a cave called Airman's Cave. We had to be on all fours going in. We basically got back in maybe 6 foot in diameter space with a lot of graffiti on the walls, and I do feel like he kind of, wanted to see if I would go in the cave.
Can you tell me your name?
Crystal.
What's your last name?
Savvas.
Okay, Savvas. All right, where do you live?
Hartford. I don't know where to start. I think the biggest thing with Uncle Charley was he left his print everywhere he went. And he was just great. Avery was able to have memories, and I think that's what's the most important.
Can you tell us who Avery is?
Oh, so Avery's my daughter.
How old is
And
Avery?
Avery's a 9, and she loves Uncle Charlie.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Everything.
with
Oh,
Avery?
here
Would
she
you like
is.
to say anything to Uncle Charlie? Do you want?
For teaching my dad how to keep his toys in a box.
No, he taught me how to collect.
Right.
Taught me a lot, man. He was a dad.
I love you, Uncle Charlie.
So we've met Avery. So I think that she was able to have some experiences in Greece, and this past Christmas we got to spend time together and certain traditions that we were able to share with him and with Amy. So I think that's probably maybe the most memorable, or the ones that touch my heart the most. So
my name is Gail, and Rachel has been my best friend since I moved here in 7th grade. I was the transplant. I'm from Kansas City originally, and meeting this girl right here has changed my life, because not only did I get to meet her, I got to meet the entire Savvas family. And so the first time I went camping, I actually went camping with another friend. That was more glamping. I had never done it. Rachel's like, hey, we're gonna go camping. Do you wanna come? I'm like, absolutely. Last time I went, it was great. We had a TV, we had fans. There was a place to get ready. I could do my makeup. So I show up to the Cavers reunion. And I am, packing my blow dryer, thinking like, hey, I'm gonna, Rachel's like, Gail, she told her dad, hey Dad, guess what's in Gail's bag? And he's like, what the hell do you need this for? This is not this type of camping. And I was like, okay, I get it.
He would be the guy that wouldn't be talking about it, he'd be out doing it. And doing it in a way that helped people and helped the group and helped make things happen and function. He was the lubrication that made our machines work.
When did you meet Charlie? What was the first time you met him?
In 98.
Yeah? Where were you?
In San Luis Potosí, and these guys come to La Puente with Joe Ivy, and we go and check La Puente 98. The one I really remember really well, and people remember Charlie for that. We go caving in San Luis Potosí in the mountains for Sierra de Álvarez and Valle de los Fantasmas. And we get down like 7 miles down in the mountains, and we have in Mexico, the cars from Mexico never work right. And we have a Volkswagen thing, and the pump for the gas go out. And Charlie come and look, he's like, dude, it's okay, we can get it out from here. He's like, how? He's like, come and dig in the back of the thing and find this Coca-Cola bottle, the plastic one, and some gas from the tank. And he's like, we wanna do this. He's like, with the little hose, and I'm here, and I wanna be dropping the gas, and the thing is like, okay, like, give me my harness. And he's like, put his harness, and he's like, okay, tie me from there and go on to the bumper and started doing this. And he's like, dude, this is gonna be cool going up here. And I started dropping gas. Okay, let's start the car, and everything is going good. And he's like, let me check. And he's like, man, it's gonna be a nice ride. And I started pouring. He's like, let's get out of here. And made it 7 miles and there. But from there, we need to go to the city to fix the car. He's like, no problem, dude. I get this one, and let's go. Fill up the bottle again, and he's dropping the gas, and people honking. He's like, hey, stop the car. And he's like, F you. But yeah, it's a really nice one. We made it all the way to San Luis. and he's fine. He's like, dude, let's do it again. Okay, man.
Met Charlie through the grotto, and we pretty quickly hatched a plan to go do Golondrinas. Me, him, Glenn, and some other guy, I can't remember his name. And that was my first real introduction to Charley Savvas. I think me and Charlie frogged out. I know I did. And that was when frogging was kind of new. That was quite an effort. But the real fun part of this story, I think, is so we're coming down from the mountain at the end of the day, and the transmission starts to slip on Charlie's old Scout. And you keep in mind, this guy was a transmission mechanic. So we get down off the mountain, and we're heading down the road, and it just keeps getting worse. And to the point where, like, we're not going anywhere. And we just pulled over and slept on the side of the road. And Charlie's like, don't worry about it, no problem. You know, I'll just rebuild the transmission. Like, okay, how's this gonna happen? But so the next morning, yeah, we get up, and I hitchhiked into Valles to get some tools. Charlie and Glenn dropped the transmission. By the time I got back, it's sitting on the tailgate of Charlie's Scout. And the rest of the day, they took it apart, and Charlie, I remember him carving out something, might have even been a penny, but like something copper to make the right size washers with a pocket knife. But he rebuilt the damn transmission on the side of the highway. And another one funny thing about that day, I remember we ran out of beer. We're sitting on the, so there's no more beer, and there's no stores. And it's like, well, damn. And then out of nowhere, I don't know if it was a Carta Blanca truck or whatever, but one of those Mexican beer trucks comes by, and he just slows down and he parks. Like, this is a miracle. So I ran down. Turns out this guy was just going to see like his cousin who lived in one of those little, shack tiendas on the side of the road. So we bought some beer and we're back in business.
I'm Ian Quigley. I'm from Western Connecticut, and then I moved to Texas in '93.
Okay. Where'd you meet Charlie?
I met Charlie at a UT Grotto meeting, probably in '99 or maybe 2000. There's a good one that I've been thinking that I bet no one else has told. I did a lot of jobs with Charlie. A couple of us did, where we were walking over Camp Bullis in San Antonio looking for caves. Part of the job, because it was a camp, and a very old camp, that parts of the property had been firing ranges, like from the 1930s to like the 80s. And so they were completely covered with unexploded ordnance. And so part of the job is to go find mortars, shells, sometimes grenades that were risky, and that you'd have to call in the bomb squad to take care of it. And one time I was out with Charlie, and he found what looked like a piece of UXO, and he started banging on it with a hammer. I was like, Charlie, what are you doing? He was like, no, dude, it's fine. And then I got closer, and it's a kind of mortar that is steel, and then to make it spin when you fire it, like a barreling of a rifle, there's a thin copper ring around it. And so the copper ring is soft, and then the barrel of the gun will make these grooves in it to make the thing spin. And then if it lands and doesn't blow up, and this one was destroyed, it wasn't dangerous, it made this really nice copper bracelet that you would give to pretty girls. So Charlie was bashing it off with a hammer and a chisel, and he was like, yeah, dude, see, let's get my nice bracelet. I was like, this is fantastic. And so later on that day, like, I found one. I was like, give me that chisel, Charlie. I want one of these. And then I took it to a jeweler and had it polished up, and now my wife wears it. We've been married almost 20 years.
My name is Nancy Pistol. I met Charlie in 1995. We were organizing trips to Mexico to a big cave project, Cheve, and he came down with Joe Ivy, and Joe said, hey, I got this caver, I think he'd be good for the project. And he was. And we just clicked. And so it wasn't long after that Matt and I, we've done a lot of traveling, a lot of caving. One of the first things we think about is, oh, we should go so-and-so. Let's call up Charlie. And it was the three of us. I mean, I always called them our partners in crime. So when it comes to stories, I mean, I have a gazillion stories. Most of these slides here are from us. We went through thousands of slides of Charlie and picked out the best ones, which narrowed down to, 300 something? But this kind of sums it up. In 1998, Matt got Charlie on a trip to Madagascar because they were doing some paleontology work looking for giant lemur bones in caves. And we got the wild hair. We said, hey, let's just take bicycles over to Madagascar and ride around for a month afterwards, after this project. And Charlie's like, okay. And so we bought these really cheap bikes from Joe Ivy, and we shipped them over to Madagascar in their box. I mean, we hadn't even really unpacked them. And we said, hey, Charlie, when was the last time you rode a bike? And he said, when I was about 12. So the night before we start out, we're in this hotel room, we pulled these things out of the box and we're putting them together, and we get on the bike the next day and we're thinking, okay, we haven't been riding in a long time, especially Charlie, so we'll make it a really easy day. Well, 76 kilometers later, I mean, it was a beautiful day. We're going over these rolling hills and we just never really stopped, and finally it got dark, and so we muddled through finding a place to stay. And the next morning, the three of us tried to sit on the bike. It was like, oh! So we thought, oh, there's a van. Let's just throw our bikes on top of the van and go out to the coast and we'll recover there. And that was just kind of typical of many, many, many Charlie stories. So even since he's gone, Matt and I were thinking about, oh yeah, maybe we should go someplace, and to try and get out of my mind, oh, let's call up Charlie, because he would have been there.
Remember a time that was tense for anybody, but Charlie's calm demeanor kind of, talked you through?
We were in Chongqing in China, and we got in a lead to this cave, Blue Underpants Cave. Go in this big borehole, you could fly a plane in there, and then we went in like a kilometer or two, and then a river entered the passage, and it just went down this like 50-meter storm shaft hellacious thing. And looking over the edge, you could just see foams of water, plumes of water, spray coming up all the way up this whole shaft and everything. You looked over, and it just looked like, whoa, And Charlie plugged in 2 bolts to the left, another under the lip, and just went down. And he was just like, dude, we got this, And like, 10 or 15 minutes later, you heard the whoo, like it's clear to come down. And I remember going down 1 or 2 anchors, the water, rappelling, and the waterfall passes you. You're right next to the water, and you're just in the spray. Your headlamp just illuminates like white cloud all in front of you. You can't see anything. And all of a sudden you're in the water, and the water's 40 degrees, it's cold, you're rappelling, getting off rope in the water, the water's choppy, there's waves, you don't want to kick your legs because you don't want your legs tangled in the rope floating around, and you're just totally disoriented, in the dark, cold, wet, off rope, wearing your vertical gear, big bag on your back, and also I see his light over there, and I know I have to swim over there, and he went like this with his light. I knew, do not swim at the light, go that way. And so I swam that way, and the current swept me over onto the beach and just like washed me up on the beach, just like rolled me up on the beach next to him. There was no getting out of the water, just kind of tumble onto the beach. And I was like, how did you do that? And he was like, well, I swam right at where I am, and I got washed downstream. So I know not to do that. So I was telling you to go that way, go that way, go that way. And I was like, well, it worked, But he just did everything. There was no hesitation. There's no what do we do. He's just like, all we need is this, and I've got it, And great guiding force for me. Just, set the tone for a lot of great adventures.
But Charlie taught me one life lesson that I always hold dear from those days. He told me, do the best you can, and then go for it. And that was something that I applied to a lot of things in my life, and I thank Charlie for that lesson.
I'm Jeff Davis. I met Charlie through Chris Murray. Had a car that was irrevocably broken. Going to cost me more money than the car was worth. He says, I got a guy. Okay. Came to the house. So I didn't, where do I got to bring it? No, he'll come to you. Okay. So he looks at it and it's like, I think it's going to be $1,000 in 3 days. 45 minutes we were done.
car was fixed. It was $300, and we're in the house looking at my collectibles. So yeah, we were friends by that afternoon. Now he collected stuff. He was a collector, you know, at heart.
What do you collect?
Well, I collect everything, but you know, he likes mostly stamps. I have vacuum tubes, which is a strange thing, and match covers, as you see in my shirt. Been friends about 20 years. And we went on a couple of trips to match conventions. He asked if there was some stuff that he could maybe like invest in, because he likes rare and cool and old. I go, yeah, there is. And I showed him a couple pictures on like on eBay. I go, well, that's the only one of those. There ain't two of those in the whole world. Did put a bid in. He bought like 3 incredibly rare, probably unique boxes, old, you know, 18th, 19th century stuff, within like a month, making me proud and jealous, you know, at the same time. But it was his new love was the matchbooks, old match related stuff, and he bought some stuff going back hundreds of years. Bought some unique stuff, some really rare stuff. We went to a convention full of seasoned, like a room like this, full of match guys, and something that was rare came up, and all the other guys just wimped. So he bought this thing that was truly unique, a set of 10, only complete set known, and everybody in the room was like, who is this guy? And how come he's leaving the building with this? He wanted it, he arranged to buy it, and he walked up in front of all you dumbasses and bought it out from under you. You guys didn't deserve it, you know, and you didn't deserve it. And he's going home with it. And that's Charley right there. He's like, I want it, I can do it, I'm going to do it, and damn the torpedoes. So, you know, amongst all the other things, in a room full of wise men, he may have been the wisest, and in a room full of collectors, he was the boldest. And that's Charley right there. And I dearly love the guy.
And I think that's the thing that Charley will always represent for me, is elevating everybody up to his level. He made everybody feel competent, and he made everything fun. He's like, hey, I'm gonna go over to my ex-wife's house so you can meet my daughter, and we're gonna replace the roof. You wanna come? And I was like, are you gonna be there? Yeah, totally, absolutely. I have nothing better to do, you know, like, so we were running around on the roof, and that's where I met you guys. Charley is in all of us, and you just have to show your Charley a little bit more. Or don't show your Charley. Or maybe you don't want to show your Charley. You know, use your discretion, you know, read the situation, pull it out when you want to.
And it was a charco trip, my least favorite cave on earth, and one of Charley's favorites. In
southern Mexico.
Southern Mexico, it's known for being really tight and miserable and nasty. So we drive down there, go down the first drop, and yeah, there's this big, giant, dead, bloated cow. So we rigged the rope so we don't really have to step on it or anything. And there were like, there's a dead dog, this is like, everyone's pushing all this stuff. Yeah, it's nasty. A bunch of us are heading out, including Charley. And it had rained quite a bit. And the cave doesn't really flood, but we could tell it was raining up there. The water was a little higher. And after 3 drops going in from the surface, there's a low airspace. And we're like, oh, it's probably going to sump. So on the way out, everyone had to do the same thing. We all came out in groups of 2 and got to the first sump, and we had to bail out, no big deal. Second one, bailed out, no big deal, except you're filling up the one behind you for the next group coming out. So we got to the final one, and that's a really deep one. It's almost a meter deep. So it takes, you know, like a couple hours to bail it out, because you just take everything out of your cave pack, fill it up with water, drag it over, and fill up the one behind you. So everyone had to go through and have the same experience. You're going through, and then, you know, the air starts coming. You're at the tightest squeeze. You don't have much air space, and then you realize all this stuff's floating in. You know, it rained a lot. There's a dead cow up there full of, yeah, maggots. You got it. It was a bunch of maggots. But at this point, you're just so happy to get out of the cave. So, you know, it's rainy at night, so we all head out to the camp, which is like about a 5-minute walk. And Nancy's cooking meals for people because she's already been in the cave, and we're coming out. And Charley comes up and...
Yeah, so I am making a whole bunch of macaroni and cheese because that's really easy and it's a good comfort food for when people get out of the cave. So Charley comes up and he sits down to eat it and he goes, "Hey, Nancy, I think something's moving in here." And I look down and it is. The macaroni and cheese is kind of wiggling, and I look back in the box and it's full of weevils that have gotten into the noodles. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can pick out, make you a new batch." And Charley just looks at it and goes, "Extra protein," and just starts chowing down. I guess after the maggots, a little bit of weevils didn't look so bad.
Sometimes he would come back from adventures, straight from a plane, from a jungle, to see Rachel. Literally one time he showed up on the front porch, and I was talking to him, and a little spider spun away. And it came out of his hair, and I was like, "Oh, Rachel, your dad's here." And then that might have been a trip where he got botfly larvae in his back in Guatemala. And he was like, "Dude, can you take this botfly stuff?" I was like, "What?" No. First it was, after I saw the spider, he goes, "Yeah, I got botfly larvae in my back."
3 out of his head.
Oh! He was proud of it. He goes, "Yeah, I got this botfly larva. Maybe you can take it out." No! Not touching botfly larvae.
So I'm Linda, and I know Charley through the Capital of Texas Postcard Club. Maybe 20, 25 years ago we first met, maybe 20, I don't know. Chime in over here, guys.
Long time ago.
Long time ago.
He's been collecting cave postcards for as
a long time.
Well, we've known him all this time. I'm Ned Coleman.
And I'm Bill Bassett, her husband.
We would go to postcard shows and we would go to the club meetings every month, and Charley was always there. And we would sit around for hours and hours and hours looking at postcards. And there could be as many as 17 dealers at a show. And Charley would go to every single dealer. Every single dealer knew what he wanted. If they didn't, he would say, "You got any cave postcards?" Bill is a postcard dealer. Ned is a postcard dealer. I think they're both semi-retired now, but they would always hold back postcards of caves for Charley. He didn't just look at caves, and I know this because I am a Scotty Dog collector, Scotty Dog memorabilia.
I see your necklace.
And my necklace,
Yes.
my bracelet, my purse, my everything.
Her underwear,
my
whatever.
underwear, just because you don't see it doesn't mean I don't have a Scotty on. He would always bring me every show, he would bring me a little bag of ephemera. Postcards with Scotties on it, greeting cards, anything with a Scotty. Very rarely did I ever get a duplicate from him. He just knew. I don't know how, but he just knew. So I am bringing this orange Scotty to share. Charley, if you're listening, look at this. This orange Scotty is tipping the top hat to you because you are so kind and generous.
I think one of the best things that has ever come to me since I've experienced grief or loss is that we hear our loved ones in our heart. And even though I've been gone for years, and occasionally I could still reach out and ask Charley anything. It's been amazing to me that there's been a couple times I hear him in my heart. And we could sit here and ask ourselves, where does that come from? Like, for whatever explanation it is, why do we, how do you hear somebody in your heart? And just to think that I bet every person in this room tonight hears Charley in their heart, which is again another testament to how much he meant to everybody and the effect, how profound he was to everybody. And he is truly one of a kind. I've never known anybody like him. He is somebody to emulate and somebody that we could all use more of in our lives.
He's weaved this thread throughout my life, and I'm sure he's done the same thing to you, where you just look back on all the adventures, all the excitement, all the fun, all the joy, all the love, and he's tied this thread through all of our lives. And I just, I hope I still, after this, when I go on a trip, I look over my shoulder every once in a while, just once or twice, and look for him to be behind me because I'm going to miss him a lot.
I still collect stuff, all with a little bit of diminishment, because he's not there to enjoy it and to celebrate it and to talk about it. He's just not there, and that it makes everything a little less shiny.
I wish all you could see what I'm seeing right now, and you know, Dad touched a lot of people's lives, as you all touched his as well, and you know, he's very lucky to have become friends with all of you, and you're all amazing people, just as he was, or he wouldn't have you as his friends. And thank you all for showing up and coming out. It really means a lot to us.
And when'd you get the bus?
That's a harder one there.
Where'd you get it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know too. Peter and I were at work in San Antonio one evening. We were staying in hotels, and he brought an old Power Wagon newsletter magazine.
Oh, cool.
So I was looking at it.
So he was already into Power Wagons?
Yeah.
Did he already have his?
Yeah, he had his already.
Oh, okay.
And he said, "Oh, look, there's
an orange
a bus. It wasn't orange.
Oh, it wasn't?
No. It was a bus for sale.
Uh-huh.
The publication was 10 years old.
Uh-huh.
So we figured out, we'll call up and find out.
It was 10 years old, and it was still for sale?
The guy said he had 4 calls, but nobody ever went out there to see it because it was way out in the middle of nowhere in Nevada.
Wow.
So I talked to him a little bit, we made an arrangement, and went out there and picked it up. Wow. Sitting in the desert, it was all standby.